Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm Lorene. Want to say a special shout out to all of those who have called me, who have texted me, inboxed me on Facebook, that have given me feedback. I am just so graciously humbled by your words of kindness and just grateful to God that in this hour in my life that He would allow me to venture out into this type of project. And when I was on the fence about it, still rolled my back until I did it, and now I can see the fruits of it. And so I'm grateful to Him, and I'm grateful to all of those who are being touched. And so to God be glory for all the things that He has done and is doing. I just want to ask you a question today. Who are you really? Who are you? Do you know who you are? I don't ask that question to be insulting. I've been encountering people, and I personally myself, growing up, had an issue with who I really was. I've always been somewhat of a gifted child, and what I mean by that is not to brag or anything like that, because when there's something wonderful about you, there's something equally unpleasant about each of us, right? But growing up, I've always been gifted, in my studies, and always in honor rolls and things like that, and always been able to do things with my hand, always had a creative mind. I've always stuck out in a crowd, even when I tried to be in the background. Because of the gifts in my life, I was always pushed to the forefront. But I found that when you can do a lot of things, and sometimes you're a person that think outside the box, you try to find your niche, your place in life. Sometimes you try to fit in with others, and it's not like you're never satisfied. It's just that sometimes where you're trying to fit in, it's not for you because they're not on the same page as you. And it's not that you think you're better than others. It's just that, you probably are at a different level of understanding and you desire other things. So I grew up in some situations where I was always misunderstood. Either they misunderstood me as I've even had some guys that I dated in the past told me that they thought I was bougie, and I never thought such a thing. I was just being me. The reason why I'm bringing this topic up now, because I have ran into a number of people that are kind of struggling with their identity, and they're having a problem. And you can be an adult and still have not figured out who you are. Isn't that amazing? Case in point, have you ever gone to a job interview and they ask you, tell me about yourself? And you find yourself stumped on that question? I've been there in the past. Because what you find yourself doing, guess what? You find yourself explaining what you do. I do this for a living, or I'm involved with this. You're actually explaining activities. You're not really saying who you are as a person. It's not what you do, it's who you are at your core. Or if you've been around people that are very controlling or very dominating, you find that you can, if you're not careful, you will find yourself conforming to their ideal of who you should be. I've been there too. Because I always wanted to do much more and was never satisfied with the status quo. I was always told, you're going too fast, you're doing too much, why are you doing that? And I find myself dumbing myself down. And you can dumb yourself down. And once again, let me be very clear. This is not about boasting or anything like that, or making yourself seem more important than what you are. I'm talking to those people that are struggling to find out who they really are. Who they really are as an individual. And it's very real. This is a problem that is consistent, and it doesn't matter what age you are. If you're a person that are constantly always there for other people, and you're the person that comes in and just cleans up everything. I used to be the cleanup woman. People make a mess out of their life. Here I come and I clean it up. But then after a while, you find yourself, those same people become very dependent upon you. And then when they cannot make decisions for themselves, they come to you, and then you find yourself frustrated because you're like, why I got to do everything? But guess what? You set yourself up that way because you begin to take on that role of always taking care of others. But then what about you? So then sometimes God, and this was a trial I had in my life years ago, the Lord took everyone away that was dependent upon me. And so I didn't have any projects, get that, to work on. And so I was looking at myself. Now, what do you do and what do I do with myself now that I don't have anything to fix, any people to look after, any people to constantly, guide and lead? What about you? What am I going to do now with myself? And I had to realize that I was placing my identity on what I did for others. You understand who I was to other people or what other people needed me to be. But when it got to the time where I found myself all alone, it was just Lorene by herself. What was I going to do with myself? That was the hardest trial in my life, was finding who I was. Not what I did, the many multiple hats I wore, the many things that I could do naturally, but who was I as an individual? What made me tick? What were my desires? What were my aspirations? Who am I when all the lights go down and I'm all alone by myself with my thoughts? Who am I? That was very scary. And I had to go back and look at, what are my gifts? What do I do naturally? What do I like? I didn't have to take care of another soul. Now it's all about me. And if you're not careful in finding out who you are, you begin to second guess yourself. You can feel very lonely. If you're not careful, you can get a little depressed because you don't know what you're going to do with your life. When my son and my niece finally left my home, which I was constantly pushing them out at some point because they were adults, and I was like, yo, peace out. But when they finally left, there was no more noise in the house. There was nothing for me to do, and I was left by myself. But I'm here to tell you that I found out who I am and not what I do. And there is such a freedom in knowing who you are as an individual. And when you know who you are, you won't accept the testimony of others or who they say you are. You know that you know that you know that you know who you are, and you won't be so quick to allow people to tear down your self-esteem. You won't be so quick to dumb yourself down. If you're around friends that don't understand you, are always finding fault with you, maybe they're not for you in that next season. Because sometimes you have friends for you at a certain stage in your life. You know, you have aspirations. You do things. They're your homeboys, your homegirls. But then as you begin to progress and grow in God and grow in your life and mature in your next stage of your life, sometimes you may have to drop off some people. And sometimes you don't have to do it. They will drop off themselves because you start having some conflict. So I'm just trying to say to you is to be encouraged today. If you're still in that place where you're trying to find out who you are, go back and look at your gifts. Go look at what you do naturally. Go look at what your passions are. Go look at what makes you get excited. That thing that you're very passionate about. It brings, it's like a big rush to you. Something that you enjoy. Go, I used to be considered, my brother today, love him dearly. He calls me like a bookworm, a nerd. I love books. I love watching Korean movies with English subtitles. Okay, that may be weird to others, but that's what I like. But there's a freedom in knowing who you are. And when you know who you are, you won't fall trap to what others say that you are. You won't find yourself dumbing down yourself. You won't find yourself conforming in a relationship or forming in a group that is really not your desire to be there. And so you're unhappy and uncomfortable. You have to learn how to be comfortable with yourself. And when you find out who you are, it's nothing for you to be who you are. It's a freedom in that. Because nobody can't beat you being you but you. And guess what? God made you that way. You're fearfully and wonderfully made. He specifically designed you to have the thoughts that you have, the way that you are, and how you do things, how you dress, how you wear. Be cool with who you are. I'm a little hefty girl, but I always say, I can't lose with the stuff I use. That doesn't make me arrogant. But I don't have to be a twig. I don't have to conform to what society say who I am. All I have to do is be healthy, be comfortable in my skin, and be the best who I am. So I encourage you today, ask yourself, who are you really? Not what you do and what you give to others, but who are you? And when you find out who you are, the freedom that you will have will be so liberating. It'll change your whole mindset in your life. You can't lose with the stuff you use. Amen. God bless you.